First things first, on this oil change for the Power Wagon, the 6.4 Hemi does require a specific type of oil. It's not just any full synthetic 0W40. It is a special formula, so please read up on exactly which oil you need. The reason I'm making this, I've actually watched a couple other videos on YouTube of oil changes on Power Wagons and other 6.4s where folks are using Mobil 1 and things like that. Surprisingly enough, Mobil 1 does not meet the spec needed for Chrysler for these 6.2 and 6.4 Hemi motors. The Pennzoil Ultra Platinum and the Royal Purple and AMSOIL, all three of those full synthetic 0W40s actually meet the required specs for these motors. And then I went ahead and grabbed just a Mopar filter as well. I had some tough time finding this oil in, I live in Kansas City, in my area. Went to 2, called 3 different auto parts stores, and nobody had 0W40 in this brand, the Royal Purple or the AMSOIL. They had Mobil 1, but like I said, Mobil 1 does not actually meet the specs. Trust me, Mobil 1 fans out there, I was shocked as well. It just is what it is, guys. I did a little research. I do want to run the right stuff, so this is the right stuff. Please look into that. Other things that we're going to need for the oil change, torque wrench for newbies, just so you don't over torque that, oil pan, drain plug. It's very easy to do. And then a 9/16 ratchet. And your 2 hands God gave you. So that's what we need to get going. Tool-wise, equipment-wise, you will want to have a catch basin of some sort. This one is an old one I've had for years. I believe it's a 9-quart basin, but you want to make sure it's large enough for the 6.4 and the 6.2's very large oil capacity, 7 quarts. Make sure you don't have a little wimpy container. So that is what you need tool-wise and equipment-wise to get going. Thankfully, the Power Wagon, the factory height that it sits at, you don't need a lift, you don't need a jack, you don't really need anything to get it lifted up and to get to working underneath it. You just need a good creeper or a nice piece of cardboard to keep you insulated a little bit from the cold concrete. We are inside today. It is a balmy 0 degrees here in Kansas City, so I'm not outside. I'm going to get this break-in oil change done. This is a break-in oil change for this Power Wagon. It just hit, man, I'm all flipped around. Just hit 5,000 miles. Dodge actually does not recommend changing the oil on these things until every, I think it's right around 8,000 miles if you do the math on the little percentage calculator in the car. The manual says 7,500 to 10,000. This being the first oil change on this vehicle. I'm going to do it a little early. You never know what kind of like casting sand and little remnants of, you know, the motor build is left behind. You hope that it was put together, but it is an assembly line motor. These aren't, you know, hand-built one-off motors. These things pump out of an assembly line quickly. So you want to make sure that there's no contaminants in the oil. And then, yeah, we'll go over step by step on how to do it. Okay. Moving along up top. Prior to loosening your bolt, your drain plug bolt down at the bottom on your oil pan, go ahead and pop the cap up. I like to leave it tucked in there just to make sure no debris or dust or dirt contaminant falls down into the fill neck for your oil. And I'm gonna slide underneath. Right. Then when you get that cap loosened up top, you're gonna grab your ratchet, 1/2 inch, put it on here. I've already broke it loose. And then you're gonna place this. Now, it is going to shoot backwards a little bit, so you're not going to place it directly underneath. You're going to set it under there. Get ready to move it, though. Make sure you catch your oil. Okay, the next step is going to be your oil filter, which is located underneath this. Well, actually, it's above this cross member, directly below your main idler pulley. You'll see this little funnel right here, and then directly above that, right there, is your oil filter. Pop that off slowly and allow the oil to run out of this little filter into your oil catch that you place beneath it.
Okay. If you go slow and let the oil drain, this little funnel works good. It does hit the track bar and the steering bar, but it's nothing that you can't just wipe off. There's no oil caught up anywhere in some unmanageable place. So you just keep, once it's done draining out, running, keep spinning it, and then pop it off and hold it. Don't just yank it out. Pop it off and just hold it right there for just a second. It only takes but a second. Drain that out, and then flip it, you know, right side up so you're not dumping it onto your head. And then, okay, so, goddamn, it hurts. I hate when that happens. Okay, so next step, you've got your oil drained, you've got your drain plug put back in and torqued to 20 foot-pounds. That's what the manual says. Just use forearm snug. Don't hang your body weight off this thing. Also, don't leave it finger tight. It's just a little bit. There's really not usually a torque spec on those, but I did run through multiple manuals to find 20 foot-pounds for you people that are gonna always criticize. So get a little bit of oil out of the cap from one of your fresh ones, obviously, and run it around the seal, okay? And then a step I have seen multiple other people miss. Even though this is a horizontal filter, you're not gonna fill it to the top. You need to prime your oil filter first. I did not know this was a thing that was debated. I've been doing it my whole life. I've worked for a couple of really good engine builders and alongside some really good engine builders in my day. And, you know, we'll get more into my history as a human being as the channel grows. But yeah, I've definitely know my way around a motor, know my way around a garage. And I'm telling you right now, prime your oil filter. That's the one time when you do oil changes that you create a void in your oil system. So when that startup happens, that first, excuse me, this thing's low on the bench, that first 5 to 10 seconds, it's filling the filter. If you have a little bit of oil in there, watch it on a gauge. If you watch it on a dyno or you have, you know, a scanner or tuner plugged in, on that first startup, you should always watch. The oil pressure will be down if you don't prime your filter. You prime your filter, you'll see when you start up, it might not be your full 40, 60, whatever it is, but you'll be at least 20. You'll have some oil in the system. You want your oil in the right place at the right time. Someone told me that when I was a real young guy, and I've always remembered it. So prime your filter, and then let's go slap this thing on. Okay, so we got the new filter put in place. The drain plug has been torqued down. Grab myself a funnel. This thing actually needed a skinny funnel to get down in there. I like it to go in there a little bit instead of just sitting in the top. That way you don't spill. The whole point of a funnel is to prevent a spill. Another tip, make sure your funnel's clean. If you need to take some carb cleaner, some brake cleaner or something to blast out your funnel before you use it, do that. The whole point of this is to clean your oil, so don't put stuff back in it. So make sure you use a clean funnel, and let's get this thing filled up. 7 quarts of oil, so let's fill it on. All right, after you get your 7 quarts poured into the top of the motor there, go ahead and fire the truck up for 5-10 seconds just to kind of let the oil circulate. It's already in there. Wait a little bit. And when I say a little bit, I mean 30 seconds to a minute, kind of let everything settle out. Pull your dipstick out, wipe it the entire time, the first pull. Place it back in, pull it out, and then immediately give it a glance. And this is coming in. I don't know if you guys can see the stripes. It's a little bit on the low side. So we're actually gonna put in probably quarter of a quart to start with, maybe a half a quart, just to make sure it's at that right. All right, then after you get her on filled up and fired up, if you have the ability to check your oil pressure like this, go ahead and flip it over to make sure the oil pressure is all good. Indicates that you got the drain plug and the oil filter on right, and it is holding oil pressure. So we got 55 PSI at idle. That wraps up an oil change on the 23 Power Wagon.